Good afternoon, everybody. Big Mike back here with you once again. Welcome back to Big Mike Talks, where today I'm going to be talking about the rest of the week that was in pro wrestling. So that's going to be AEW Fyter Fest, which I'll get into why it's not just Dynamite, and WWE SmackDown. Two very interesting yet very, very different shows. And it definitely shows. So, first things first, we are going to go into AEW Fyter Fest. Now, the reason I say Fyter Fest instead of just Dynamite, AEW brought both Dynamite and Collision together in a 4-hour program. So, basically, you take Dynamite, you take Collision, put them together. Because Saturday, let's face it, it was Money in the Bank. People were probably going to watch that. So, now we got the big Super Show, in which I think there's another one coming next week. This coming week, I should say. So, keep your eyes open for that one. So, Fyter Fest starts with Toni Storm in a backstage kind of promo. I didn't really hear what she said at first, but eventually I did get got a big challenge tonight. I'm ready to tango whenever you are. So I forget what the match is. We'll get to it. But next we got an in-ring interview with Will Ospreay. But first we get a video recap of the Swerve Ospreay confrontation from Collision, which was pretty darn cool. Then we go right back to the interviews with Ospreay saying, "Man, it's embarrassing. Swerve, you've been my friend for the past 12 years. And while I cannot get Swerve and Hangman on the same team, you all need to put your differences aside so we can get back the AEW title. And then you guys can go and kill each other. Mox doesn't love what AEW has become. Well, if you don't love it, piss off. The only reason AEW is down is because of you, Mox. I'll play a part in bringing the title home. They don't want to see each other, Swerve and Hangman don't want to see each other as champion. If I've got to be the one to stop you, Swerve, I love you. I'd take a bullet for you, but I'd take a bullet for AEW first. So next week, Swerve, it's you and me. But before more can come out of Ospreay's mouth, the crew come out. So that's Lio Rush and Action Andretti, with Lio taking charge, saying, "What's wrong, Ospreay? Not so happy to see us?" Ospreay then kind of chimes in, "Real cute, you two." Lio continues, "A true Brit. You call yourself a true Brit? I love that. And one thing I know about Brits is they love to talk. And you've been talking out here a lot." So, Lio continues, "Well, I got some pent-up anger. And tonight we sold out the arena. And I want you later on tonight." Ospreay then asks the crowd, "Anyone want to see a Will Ospreay match tonight?" Crowd goes nuts. Ospreay says, "We'll see you later tonight." So that's going to be on the Collision portion of the show, which pretty interesting. Then Ospreay looks down the camera lens and says, "Swerve, I'll see you next week." Drops the mic and walks off. So, nice little opening promos. I do wish Toni Storm was given more of a moment, because her promo went way too quickly. I'm so happy Ospreay is given time, though. Ospreay is one of the most underrated. I don't even want to say underrated dudes. He's one of the best, easily. So next up, we get a little hype video for Mark Briscoe versus Jon Moxley, which is happening right now. We go right into the match. And I love where the Death Riders do their entrances. It's like a little courtyard on the outside. You can see all the walls. They got graffiti on them, but it looks so good. And honestly, we just like right at the start, Moxley bails out, tries to avoid Mark Briscoe. Briscoe then follows him, and he definitely gets overwhelmed by the other Death Riders. Moxley with like a nose rake. It wasn't an eye rake, it was like a nose rake. Like getting in there, and that was a little gross. Briscoe eventually gets out of that. Low bridge on Moxley, hitting a drop kick, and then as he's getting Moxley back in, Yuta just distracts Briscoe. Moxley attempts a cannonball. That misses. Moxley gets back in. Marina Shafir then distracts the ref. And then Yuta just chucks Mark Briscoe into the ring post. A little bit more back and forth as we go in. Briscoe blocks a paradigm shift attempt. Hits the frog. Moxley blocks a froggy bow. He locks in the bulldog choke for like a minute. But then Briscoe counters out of it, locks in a Juji Katami, an armbar. Which, that was an impressive looking transition. Moxley gets in the ropes. Yuta then chucks Briscoe into the ring steps with the ref distracted. Chucks him back in. Briscoe gets up, hits a Death Valley driver and a J-Driller for a 2 count. Attempts the cutthroat driver that gets blocked into a bulldog choke again. But Briscoe counters out into a roll-up for a 2 count. Then Moxley relocks in the bulldog choke for the win via ref stoppage. So, yeah, that was a great opening matchup. Definitely a matchup we've seen a couple of times, but it was definitely a fun matchup. We then get a hype video for Mystico, who is making his AEW return next week. That should be fun. We then get Mercedes Moné joining commentary for our next matchup, and it's tag team match playa. As Timeless Toni Storm teams up with Mina Shirakawa to take on the team of Sky Blue and Julia Hart. Great to see Sky Blue and Julia Hart tag teaming again. They were a pretty established team before Sky Blue got hurt. Glad she's back. And yeah, this match was a little odd at first, but eventually things picked up. Timeless Toni Storm with the Thez press. I love it when she breaks out old moves like that. That's fun. Mina and Toni Storm then did dueling moves, including suplexes, hip attacks. Then Toni locks in the chicken wing submission, which I haven't seen that since Darren Young did it back in the day, to pick up a submission win for her team. All the while, during this match, we have Mercedes Moné, while she is kind of at the commentary table, She had her own table set up, including with a steak dinner, which is hilarious. So, post-match, during the match, we see her eating it. But then post-match, we see Toni Storm get out of the ring, have a little stare-down moment with Monet. She then goes over to the plate, picks up the steak, and just starts biting it right off the plate. Toni Storm's mannerisms are just so good. Like, if you don't like Timeless Toni Storm, you're insane. Anyway, so next we get the start of a Will Ospreay promo. But then before he can get a word out, MJF comes in. And Ospreay asks, what the hell do you want? MJF says, I've come here to help you. You need to stay out of Swerve and Hangman's business. You obviously can't beat Hangman. These guys are animals. And I know you're only thinking about yourself while I'm thinking about AEW. Oh, by the way, how's your son doing? Ospreay then grabs MJF by the collar, pushes him against the wall. It looks like he's about to punch him right in the face when we see a hand show up on Will Ospreay's shoulder. Turns around. It's MVP. He says, alright, come on, let him down. So he starts to let him down. Then we see Shelton Benjamin and Bobby Lashley walk in. They all have a stare down. MVP says, alright, we got other things to do tonight. Good luck in your match. MJF and MVP walk off. Benjamin takes a moment, but then he walks off. Then we see a big stare down between Bobby Lashley and Will Ospreay. I didn't think we could actually get that match, but I am all for it. So then we go to the ring for a Hurt Syndicate promo, in which, sure, so MVP takes charge, saying, before I go any further, Bobby, you used to live here. I have to ask, now that you live in Texas, what do you think about here in Colorado? So Lashley puts his thumb kind of here. Looks like it's going up a little. A thumbs down to a big chorus of boos. Then MJF picks up the microphone, says, and that's why Lashley left. So this is actually continuing MVP, saying, this is AEW, where the best wrestle. Where are the best tag teams that ever existed? You could put together your dream team and they still couldn't win. If this is where the best wrestle, where are the good tag teams? It's all in your imagination, and there is no one capable of beating us. Now show respect to MJF. So MJF gets on the microphone, says, I'd appreciate if I can do this promo in silence. Gets a pretty loud chorus of boos. So MJF continues, as you guys may know, I want my title back. And that means I'm going to have to start wrestling again. And that brings me to Mexico. And I believe the top guy there is a dude called Mystico. Mystico, you're obviously the best there. But that can't be true because I am. Mystico, when I went to Mexico, I sold out your precious Arena, Mexico. And why was I able to do that? Unlike you, I'm a megastar. You think you're a lucha legend? You're a big fish in a small pond. So next week, I'm going to watch your match, Mystico. And maybe at Grand Slam in Mexico, I'll allow you to wrestle me. Please. Please and thank you. Then out comes a very interesting trio. It's Speedball Mike Bailey, Kevin Knight, aka Jet Speed, in which, get me some Jet Speed merch, Tony. I'd buy that. And then their trio's partner for the evening, Komander, the former Ring of Honor television champion. So MVP's like, what do you guys want? So Komander says, if you're going to respect Lucha, you got to respect me. MJF is then like, are you guys out of your mind? So Speedball Mike Bailey gets on the mic, says some things in French, which is always cool. Then he says, you guys want the best? We're a group of international killers. And Max, you're just a little bit uncultured. So then Kevin Knight gets on the mic, says, we're going to keep it real, Hurts, and it will pop you tonight. But we want a match for the tag team titles. So MVP says, oh, you want a match tonight? Ha 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 ha, absolutely not. You guys haven't earned it. Would you like an opportunity? Impress us by earning it. So, Hurt Syndicate get out of the ring, and they pass by the guys who are going to be facing Jet Speed and Komander in a match. That is Rush, Dralistico, and the Beast Mortis of LFI. They have a little stare down moment. Then LFI make their entrance, and we go into our next matchup. And this was really, really good. Everybody looks great in this match. We got a lot of great moments. Really good trios wrestling, including Komander hitting a assisted Code Red onto Mortis, which that was crazy. Only gets a 2 count. Lots of really good lucha stuff. But then the trio of Jet Speed and Komander, with Bailey hitting the tornado kick, Komander hitting the rope walk shooting star, which is awesome every single time. And then Kevin Knight hitting the, I don't know what they called it, but the kind of rewind frog splash to pick up the win. And as they're celebrating, back out comes the Hurt Syndicate. This time, they're on the stage. So MVP says, a round of applause to you guys. I hate you had the guts to pull this off. You impressed us so much that next week you get to face Shelton Benjamin, Bobby Lashley, and MJF in trios action next week. So then Mike Bailey gets on the microphone, says, oh, we don't have to wait until next week. Let's give these fine people a preview right now. The Hurt Syndicate hit the ring. They all brawl for a bit, including MVP threatening Kevin Knight with his walking stick, which is hilarious looking. With the baby faces standing tall in the ring. Yeah, they're going to get destroyed next week. No offense to my boys, but yeah, this is going to be the Hurt Syndicate's night. So next up, backstage, we got a interview with the Paragon. So that's Adam Cole, baby. Kyle O'Reilly and Roderick Strong, along with Daniel Garcia. So Adam Cole kind of takes the lead on this, saying, we've had our battles in the past, but we have respect for one another. We both hate the Callis family. So what do you say you team up with us so we can take them out? So Garcia gets the mic, says, "You're right. We do have the same target. I also hate the Callis family. I'll see you guys out there." So that's another setup for a collision match. So that should be a whole lot of fun. We then go to a different part of the arena with a different interviewer who is interviewing Christian Cage and Nick Wayne of the Patriarchy, with Cage saying, "You need to be smart enough to know when Patriarchy is here. You shut up." So Nick Wayne was in the best of the Super Juniors. He won a lot of matches, but he didn't win the tournament. So a lot of people would say a talent like that deserves a night off, but I want you to keep your momentum going. I want you to defend your Ring of Honor TV title here tonight. So Wayne is like, "Okay, who's going to be my opponent?" Cage reveals, "Well, you're going to be defending it in a fatal 4-way. So Cage then kind of gets in Nick Wayne's face, saying, "Watch this close. Worry about keeping your title." And then walks off. I feel like the next time Wayne, slaps the taste out of Cage's mouth is going to be a great big reaction. So now this is our midway point for Fyter Fest. So basically the main event of Dynamite. And it's the international title match, as we got Kenny Omega defending against Brody King, Mascara Dorado, and Claudio Castagnoli. This match was absolutely nuts. You obviously got the speed combination of Omega and Mascara Dorada. The absolute powerhouses of Brody King and Claudio. They just worked really, really good from beginning to end. But finish came with a Mascara Dorado Rana attempt. Kenny Omega catches it, sets him up, hits the one-winged angel for the win. So honestly, really fun matchup. But as Kenny is celebrating, you hear the coin flip, which only means one thing. We got Kazuchika Okada coming out. 2 long-time rivals. Okada then holds up his Continental title. Omega holds up his International title. They toss them to the side, and they just brawl. Like, this wasn't just a fight. This was a brawl. With Okada attempting the Rainmaker. Misses. Kenny attempts the one-winged angel. Okada bails out of the ring to save himself. And then we get announced a big announcement from Tony Khan a little later on. So we're going to get to that one. So I guess this is when the collision portion of the show started. And we got a hype video for FTR versus Atlantis Jr. and Templario, which that is a tongue twister to say. They got a tag team match later on. Then we get a Ricochet promo. He's in the bowels of the arena somewhere. And he says, "I've had the pleasure of viewing for 4 hours. I got my eyes on all kinds of talent. I'm searching for attributes to help me in my quest for gold." So, nice, short, sweet, to the point from Ricochet. we now get, I guess this is our first matchup for Collision, as we got Will Ospreay taking on Lio Rush. And honestly, this matchup was way better than I thought it'd be. No offense to Lio, but, he and Lio are not on the same level. But honestly, this was a very, very good matchup. About halfway through the match, Ospreay attempts a hidden blade, but Action Andretti, who's sitting ringside, grabs Ospreay's foot. Lio Rush then comes to attack Ospreay. He gets backdropped. Then Ospreay with a big old dive gets him back in, attempts the Tiger Driver, gets blocked kind of mid-move with Lio hitting a DDT. Lio then goes up, hits a frog splash for a 2 count. Then Action Andretti takes a chain. Not like a wearing chain, but like a steel lock level chain. Slides it right into Lio Rush. Lio wraps his hand with it. Goes to hit Ospreay. Referee catches it. Chucks it out of the ring. Lio Rush attempts a Rana that gets caught into the Styles Clash for the win for Mr. Will Ospreay. And honestly, that was a really, really fun match. A little quicker than I would have liked, but I'm sure we'll get a rematch somewhere down the line. Post-match, Action Andretti attacks Ospreay with Lio and Action Andretti hitting their tag finish, which looks like a weird neck breaker. And as they're standing over Ospreay, out comes Hangman Adam Page, runs them off. Action Andretti gets caught. Hangman attempts the buckshot, but Lio Rush gets him out of harm's way. They walk off. Hangman then checks on Ospreay. Hangman helps Ospreay to his feet. They both fist bump. And then we see Hangman Adam Page grab a microphone. So he's cutting this promo, says, if Ospreay has my back, I'll have his. But I want to make things perfectly clear. I am my own man. I don't need help to win the AEW title. I do not need help to threaten my safety of my family for their own glory. So I'm going to make another promise. Will ever needs or accepts help. I will never need or accept help from Swerve Strickland. I'm going to ride into All In, take back my AEW title, and it'll be a night for everybody. AEW All In will be my night, and before he can finish, Jon Moxley all of a sudden shows up in the ring. He has a little stare down with Hangman Adam Page. Then we see the other members of the Death Riders surrounding the ring. They're getting ready to beat up the number 1 contender. Out comes Will Ospreay with a couple of steel chairs. The Death Riders bail out to end the segment. So, this is definitely going to be a very interesting road to All In. We'll see if it picks up or not. So next we have a Don Callis family interview with Don Callis taking the lead, saying, I heard Adam Cole make the challenge. I'm going to send the family on you, but I'm not done there. Bandito, you cost me money, so bring your outrunners. I'm going to raise you a protostar, and someone you're familiar with, Bandito, Henchazero. and we're gonna go kick some ass tonight. So, nice little setup for a couple matches for later on. But first, we gotta get to some tag team action, players. As CMLL's own Atlantis Jr. and Templario, I hope I am pronouncing that right, take on Dax Harwood and Cash Wheeler of FTR. And I'm going to say this, the clashing of styles here was absolutely awesome. Like, you got FTR, they're the ground and pound, they're the wrestling savants, taking on the high flyers of Atlantis Jr. and Templario. And yeah, this was just a really, really fun back and forth match. Templario actually countering out of the Shatter Machine. Hits a roll up, only gets a 2. Luchadors then with a bunch of super kicks. Atlantis is going up top, but Dax Harwood pushes him off the top rope. Templario with a suplex attempt, but Dax grabs his legs so that Cash could land on top of him for a cover. And your winners are FTR. Like I said, great little clash of styles. It did start off a little slowly, but I think it really, really worked. So, post-match, we see Stokely Hathaway grab a microphone and says, "I have something to say." Crowd boos his head off. So Dax grabs the microphone and says, "He has something to say, people." So Stokely says, "Shocker, FTR wins again. And if I recall, they are the winningest team in AEW history. It doesn't matter what company you're from, everyone falls to FTR." So then Dax Harwood grabs the microphone and kind of starts talking, but the crowd drowns him out. So Cash comes over and says, "Hey, why don't you shut your mouths? He's talking." So Dax tries to get a couple other words out. Crowd continues to boo. So then Dax says, "Alright, you all had your chance. You don't get to hear me talk anymore." And so Dax puts down the mic and they walk off. So, yeah, nice little matchup. I do hope FTR gets back on for another potential title reign. Although I wouldn't be mad if they don't. Ooh, then we get this nice Thekla hype video. If you don't know who she is a recent signing from CMLL. Not CMLL, Stardom. And, yeah, it's going to be pretty dang interesting to see how she does. She has a little match coming later tonight. But first, we got the Don Callis family. That's going to be, Konosuke Takeshita, Kyle Fletcher, teaming up with Henchizero, which, that's interesting, taking on Truth Magnum and Turbo Floyd of the Outrunners. Great to see them back again. And Bandito and the Outrunners, they're wearing some lucha masks, which is awesome little synergy between the teams. And this was a fun little back and forth little matchup. Outrunners definitely commenting their way to the top. But eventually the Callis family takes control. It's a bunch of superplexes, some big kicks. Fletcher with a brainbuster. I forget what Takeshita hit. I think it was Michinoku driver for the Don Callis family and Henchizero to pick up the win. So, another nice, fun trios match. I guess we're going to get the Callis family and Edge Zero versus the Paragon and Daniel Garcia at another point. But, yeah, that's fine. We then get highlights from the women's tag street fight from last week, which was absolutely awesome. We then get a shot of Megan Bayne and Penelope Ford. They're in the back, and they say, Harley? Anna, you should have just bowed down. So the camera tracks down, you see Harley Cameron, and she's all laid out. Megan Bayne then grabs Harley Cameron, takes her out to the stage, looks like she's about to hit a face to set, but then Ford's like, no, over here. So Megan Bayne moves to the stage area, about to hit it on her off the stage. But then who makes the save? Anna Jay's old tag team partner, Ty Mello. Heck yeah, making the save for the team. Security separates them. Glad to see Tay Mello back. She is severely underrated. And we'll see what this means for a potential women's tag division. I know there's people talking about it. I don't even know if Tony Khan really wants it, but we shall see. Then we go back to, I'm going to say, different part of the arena for a Billy Gunn and Anthony Bowens interview. With Bowens taking the lead, saying it's the Pride of Pro Wrestling month, which great synergy there. Bowens continues, I need a month of big moments. Next week, I whip Kyle Fletcher's ass. And we're going to keep the good times going. So we're going to be seeing that next week. That should be a fun little matchup. Then we see Ricochet joining commentary with the announced team being like, oh, this was never on the cards, blah, blah, blah. As we go into our next match for the Ring of Honor television title, we got Nick Wayne defending his title against Big Shotty Lee Johnson, AR Fox, and one half of the ROH Tag Champions, Sammy Guevara. And this, I'm going to say this felt like early 2000s X Division. Not saying that's bad, but there was a ton of high flying in this match, which I'm never going to complain about. With people hitting all kinds of top rope and middle rope moves, including a destroyer from AR Fox, and then a swanton from Nick Wayne. AR Fox attempts another swanton, but that gets blocked into a super kick and brainbuster combination from Nick Wayne, who picks up the win. Then at that point, Christian Cage goes over to the table where the ROH TV title is being held, gets in the ring, places it on Nick Wayne's shoulder, and pats it. So, I guess we'll see where this is going to go next. So then we get a nice little rundown of Summer Blockbuster, which is next week's AEW 4-hour special. Should be a fun one. Then we get our next little matchup, our semi-main event, as we got Thekla making her in-ring debut, taking on Lady Frost. It has been way too long since I've seen Lady Frost. Glad she's, I don't want to say back, but at least visiting AEW because she is severely underrated. So yeah, Thekla pretty much goes on the attack immediately, locking Lady Frost in a crossface. Then kind of a lip with her mouth. It was very weird. Then the hold gets broken. Thekla then gets in the face of the referee. Goes back to kicking Lady Frost's butt. Lady Frost does get some elbows in. But then Thekla does the Bray Wyatt spider walk. Hitting a big spear. And then I don't really know what the finish was called. But I heard gut trap, which I don't know if that's true, but it is a submission victory for Thekla. Post-match, Thekla with a post-match beatdown. Who makes the save? It's Queen Aminata. I haven't seen much of her in a little while. So she runs off Thekla, checks on Lady Frost, go to an ad. We come back to a Queen Aminata backstage promo saying, Thekla, I know you're trying to make a name for yourself, but you aren't the only African queen in this promotion. And what we do to spiders, we stomp them. So next week, it's going to be you versus me, and we're going to find out who's the stomper and who gets stomped. So, nice little post-match promo setting up Queen Thekla's next challenge. We then get the Tony Khan big announcement as he announces Kenny Omega versus Kazuchika Okada with both their titles on the line for AEW All In. Now, a lot of people did see that coming. I'm still excited for it. You put that on any matinee these days, I think it's going to sell tickets. That's pretty much what this was. Then we get to our main event. And it's a 4-man tag. As it's the Don Callis family. So it's Rocky Romero, Trent Beretta, Lance Archer, and I think Kyle Fletcher was part of that. No, it was who was it? I forget who it was. I apologize for that. Taking on Daniel Garcia and the full force of the Paragon. So that's Adam Cole, baby, Roderick Strong, and Kyle O'Reilly. And honestly, this was a fun little... Oh, Josh Alexander. That's who the last member is. And this was a just fun little wrestling match. Was it really main event worthy? That's up to you to decide. But this was definitely big old schmoz of a match. With Daniel Garcia hitting a code red, Paragon hitting a bunch of super kicks, and then Adam Cole lowering the knee pad, hitting the boom for your winners, the Paragon and Daniel Garcia. Then we see post-match Konosuke Takeshita and Kyle Fletcher come out on the ramp as they collect their teammates. So this Paragon and Don Callis family feud isn't quite over. But yeah, that was a fun little main event. It was also a fun show. My only complaint, and this is my only complaint, and this goes directly to Tony Khan. Tony, if you got a 4-hour program, there should be zero reason to have an overrun. None. Zero. Zip. You can probably fit everything in this 4 hours. There is zero reason to do this. So, yeah, overall, Fyter Fest was a lot of fun. We'll see how the next 4-hour AEW block goes. I definitely have my concerns, but I am ready for it. So, next up, we got WWE SmackDown. And we start with a Paul Heyman family promo. Obviously, this crew still doesn't have a team name, so I'm just going to keep calling them that. So, Seth Rollins takes the microphone, says, "Tomorrow, I take everything. When I win the Money in the Bank contract, I'll have total control over the entire industry." And Punk is off on the island of Irrelevancy, which is a great little nod to the island of relevancy for Roman. Seth continues, "Anyone who stands in our way will suffer the same fate as Sami Zayn, Roman Reigns, and CM Punk, who stood in our way. And Roman isn't coming to save you. He never liked you. And will drag all of you into the future, kicking and screaming. And there is nobody that can stop me." Lights go out. Who comes out as the savior? Solo Sikoa, JC Mateo, and Jacob Fatu, aka the New Blood. I'm going to call them that for now. They need a new team name as well. So they come out, they have a little stare down with the Heyman family. So Solo steps up, grabs a microphone, says, "You said if anyone gets in your way, you'll play them out. If you think there's no one here to stop you, we are standing right here, right now." Seth answers, "Is that so? Looks like you got yourself a little bloodline here. Who are you supposed to be standing in front of JC? You're a wannabe wannabe right-hand man Jey Uso? And what about you, standing in front of Jacob, saying you want to be an honorary Sami Zayn?" Then Solo went in on Bronson Reed, saying, "Look, we teamed up in War Games, and now all of a sudden you're with him? And long time no see, wise man." Seth then says, "You better choose your next words very carefully, because tomorrow I'm getting the Money in the Bank. Oh, this is actually Solo, and all that power that you're talking about will be mine. Now, is it your turn to be threatened by us?" This is Heyman now, saying, "Braun is the future. Reed can squash you. Your own family would stab you in the back, then have your back." Talking to Jacob now, which that'll be a development for tomorrow. I'll cover that. Solo then turns to the Heyman family, saying, "I know what you're trying to do. You need to come up with some new nicknames." This is actually Seth now. "How about Solo's bitch? You think you're threatened by us? We are threatened by one, and that's Jacob." So, Heyman family go to leave. Braun stands there, has a intense stare down with Jacob. "Give me that match soon, WWE." But then Heyman and Seth pull Braun Breaker along. Leads him up the ramp. And then Jimmy Uso, bless me, taking out the New Blood from behind, which leads into our opening matchup of Jimmy Uso taking on JC Mateo, aka Jeff Cobb. And this was kind of a basic match. Like, don't get me wrong. Jimmy Uso is definitely a talented guy. I've seen a lot of Mateo in my day, and he's excellent. But this match didn't really work for me. I don't know. After a bunch of super kicks, a spear, and an Uso splash, Solo distracts the referee, and then Fatu distracts Jimmy. JC is about to attack Jimmy. Jimmy moves, and JC bumps into Jacob Fatu, who falls to the floor. Jimmy Uso with a roll-up for the win. We then see JC and Solo checking on Jacob Fatu. Jacob gets up, and he walks off on his own. So, yeah, definitely some chinks in the armor of the Bloodline. We'll see what happens in the near future. So then we see Zelina Vega in the back. She has her United States title. And she runs into Julia, who says, I've made my intentions clear. I want a shot at that title. Vega then says, you're going to have to pry it from my cold, dead hands. Julia then kind of smiles, says, you're confident. I like that. And Vega just walks off. Then we see Jacob in the back. He's pissed off. He's flipping tables. He's elbowing equipment boxes. He is beside himself. Then Priest walks in, says, I know working with family can be tough. I've done it before. At some point, you gotta look over your shoulder because I'm coming for the title. Jacob then has a little stare down with Priest, says, okay, you best get in line then. You're gonna get yours, and then you're gonna go to the back of the line. Know what I mean? And he walks off. A Priest Jacob Fatu program. I am in. Although, I guess we'll see what happens after Money in the Bank. Maybe a little spoiler on that there. So next up is a Bakersfield Brawl. Basically a themed plunder match, where we've had this around Christmas time or in whatever other city. As we got Piper Niven of the Secret Harvest taking on Zelina Vega. Now this did start out a little basic, but eventually Vega gets some plunder, gets some kendo sticks. Piper Niven then with an electric chair driver into the apron, which that was gnarly. Piper then starts using that chain to choke Vega. Piper goes for a big slam that gets blocked into a DDT onto a chair. Piper Niven rolls out. Vega hits a moonsault to the outside. Gets him back in. Attempts the Code Red. Hits the Code Red off the top, which that was impressive. Then Alba Fire grabs Zelina Vega. Green joins in on a beatdown. Alba Fire then grabs a table, sets it up in the ring. Piper Niven then with a Falcon Arrow through the table. On the outside. They get Vega back in. Vega is then set on the table. Looks like Piper Niven's about to hit a big splash. But then Julia shows up. She's up on the barricade. It's a crossbody on Fire and Green. Piper Niven attempts a big powerbomb that gets blocked. Vega with some kendo stick shots. hits a powerbomb through the table, which that was impressive for the win for Zelina Vega. Then as Zelina Vega's celebrating, Julia comes in, lifts up her hand, takes one look at the Women's United States title, and just hits a big old clothesline on Zelina Vega. Finishing up with a big old brain buster. That was an impressive feat by Julia. Vega, big win. Love that for him. For her, we'll see where this goes in the coming weeks because she needs some new challengers. So next up, we see Jey Uso. He's kind of warming up in the back. Cody Rhodes walks in. He asked, "Are you good from last week?" Jey answers, "Yeah, I'm good. I'm a little banged up, but I'm okay." Then in comes Jimmy Uso. You see Jimmy and Jey do the little handshake. With Jimmy asking, "Yo, you straight? I know you got some big matches coming up, but that's just what champions do. All you need to worry about right now is what Cena and Logan and Paul have to say." So, interesting little interaction. We'll see where that leads to down the line. Then we get an Aleister Black pre-recorded promo saying, "When someone's in your position, you're using the black mass as disrespectful. Made me feel like you stole something from me. Well, take away the security. It's just going to be you and me, LA. And I'll drag you down into my house. And if you beat me, I'll admit defeat." And yeah, that's where that ends. Aleister Black has been such a good re-signing by WWE. I hope he does get more of a push coming up. But I guess we'll see. Next we see an LA Knight promo. He's actually in the ring. He says, "It's that time of year again. It's Money in the Bank season. I'm going to do it with a little bit of math. This is my third year in being in Money in the Bank. I guess third time's the charm. But I'm not satisfied with that. I got 5 guys doing everything in their power to grab the briefcase. And this is going to get to the goon side. I feel the same. Solo has done this a million times. Man, I haven't had an interaction with... I have guys who run with him. And Seth's been here, done that. You're going to want to burn it down. But there's nothing hotter than LA Knight in LA. And I think about tonight. You had a shot, Aleister. Money in the Bank is the big deal. It's a 3-way. I got the job done. But you got set in your feelings, hurt. So let's do this one more time." So lights go out. Aleister Black has his entrance. And we are off to the races. And this match, really early on, they tried hitting each other's finishers. Only for them to miss. And they have a nice little back and forth little interaction. A whiff on a BFT, which don't think I've ever seen that. LA Knight attempts the Burning Hammer, but that gets blocked into a roll-up for a 2 count. Eventually, Knight does hit the Burning Hammer, but Aleister Black rolls to the outside. Seth Rollins then gets in the ring, hits a stomp on LA Knight, so the match gets thrown out. Seth was about to hit another stomp on Knight, but Aleister Black gets in his face. Braun Breaker then slides in and hits a spear to Aleister Black. And then a big old senton from Bronson Reed. And then a spear to LA Knight from Braun Breaker. And then you see the Heyman family standing over LA Knight and Aleister Black. So it looks like we're going to get LA Knight and Aleister Black as maybe a team? I guess we'll see about that. So next we get a big announcement from both Nick Aldis and Adam Pearce, the two general managers, as they announced the King and Queen of the Ring tournaments are coming back. They're going to be starting a little later on tonight, where the two finals are going to happen in Saudi Arabia at Night of Champions, which honestly, that's awesome. Cannot wait for that. Great to see King and the Queen of the Ring is now going to be an annual event. But next up, we get Jade Cargill interview. Can we stop chatting for 2 seconds? 2 seconds. Where she says, "Oh, it feels great to have them Naomi off my back, but while I won't have the opportunity for the Money in the Bank case, I'm going to be the next Queen of the Ring, and then at SummerSlam, I'm going to be taking the gold." Then, kind of casually walking in is Charlotte Flair, where she says, "Friendly reminder, you need to choose your friends more wisely, and the only queen in the WWE is me." Then we have a vignette with Legado del Fantasma talking about their upcoming match of Worlds Collide, which I'll admit not going to cover that, but it was a fun little matchup. We then get an interview from American Made with Chad Gable taking the lead, saying confidence is high. We're about to see the greatest luchador of all time get the briefcase, and I'm going to find my own way into the history books as I win the AAA Mega Championship, which, again, that's at Worlds Collide. I did watch it. I'm not going to cover it. So then in walks Andrade, who says, "There's no way you're going to beat Vikingo." This brings Penta in. They start speaking Spanish to one another. I don't understand Spanish, so I really don't know what they're saying. I apologize. Then Chad Gable just screams, "Enough! You think that's funny? Well, funny will be when Americano takes you out." So, yeah, that's we're gonna, and then a little later we're gonna see a tag match. So we're gonna see that a little later. We then get a promo from Tiffany Stratton. She's standing in the ring, saying, "I'm call it for what it is. I became the it girl for the WWE, and everyone in the Money in the Bank ladder match is going to attempt to pull a Tiffany Stratton and reach for the stars. Everyone in that match is championship material, but their world will revolve around me. And no one can pursue the doer." And before she can continue, out comes Rhea Bloody Ripley. She gets in the ring, grabs a microphone, says, "Tiffy, I've never been a part of Money in the Bank before, because I never had to be. And I don't know what it feels like to win the case, but I know what it feels like being champion, and I miss that feeling." And then that leads us into our next matchup with the participants for the women's Money in the Bank ladder match. So we got Rhea Ripley, Stephanie Vaquer, and Alexa Bliss teaming up against Naomi, Roxanne Perez, and Julia. And Julia and Vacker started up, which, hell of a way to start off. They're really, really good together. When Alexa Bliss came in, she did look a little rusty, but she eventually does get into it. Vacker with a few devil's kisses, which I'm not even going to try to describe that. That could get me demonetized. Really good back and forths. Bliss attempts a bulldog that gets blocked. Brings in Roxanne Perez, who hits a big old drop kick. And then hits a cannonball into the ring steps, which that looks like it hurt a little. Eventually, Rhea does get in. She hits the Razor's Edge. Big kick. Only gets a 2 count. Everyone hitting a drop kick on Rhea. Then Bliss in. Hits a Abigail DDT. Roxanne with a super kick. Rhea with a big headbutt. Attempts the riptide. That gets blocked into an awesome DDT. Rhea tries to tag in her partners, but that gets denied. And then Roxanne is looking to tag in Naomi. Naomi then drops down off the apron and walks off. So then that leaves Roxanne to eat defeat from Stephanie Vaquer, and then a riptide from Rhea Ripley for the baby faces to win. A nice little preview for Money in the Bank, where it will be every woman for themselves. But this was a fun little matchup, and I'm going to give WWE credit for having the courage to book this match. So next up, we see Solo Sikoa and JC Mateo in a very generic-looking locker room. A very anti-Bloodline locker room. With JC saying, "No, you're going to trust Jacob after tonight?" Solo then says, "Everything is going to be okay. He's clearly not all there. He's all gas, no brains. I've got it all under control." We then see JC and Solo leave off screen. Then Jacob Fatu enters the doorway, and he is pissed off. Oh, and that's going to... Little spoiler alert for tomorrow. That's going to factor into Money in the Bank. So just wait for that. Then we see a familiar Wyatt Six, taped promo. Like it looks like it was recorded on a VHS tape. So it's only Bo Dallas, who says, "Grief isn't there. My time is a wound," and then continue to be ripped open by a presence who isn't there. God damn. He continues, "I've watched the tag division, the loyalty, the trust, and the brotherhood. I'd say that bond would be unbreakable. You all wanted to forget about us. We returned not for closure, to take what we are owed. The time for vengeance has passed. We will not be forgotten." And as the video ends, we see the other members of the SmackDown Tag Division. So it's the Street Profits, DIY, the Motor City Machine Guns, and Fraxium. They're all kind of talking along with one another. And they want someone to step up to the Wyatts. And initially Fraxium does, but then so does the Motor City Machine Guns, which is very strange. So, I figured we'd see the Wyatts in a big multi-man, but it kind of looks like we're going to get the teams kind of try to solo the Wyatts, which I guess could be interesting. We then get a card rundown for Worlds Collide, which is very, very interesting. And for Money in the Bank, in which, don't get ahead of me. So next up, I believe, is our main event match of the evening, as we get Penta and Andrade teaming up to take on American Maids, Brutus and Julius Creed. We then see El Hijo del Vikingo, the current AAA Mega Champion. He's chilling in the crowd. And as American Made are making their entrance, they get to the foot of the ring. Andrade and Penta with a big dive to the outside to take him out. And they start throwing him into stuff. Gets him in the ring as Andrade and Brutus start off. And this was a weird little match. Like, there's points that did work, points that really didn't. But one point, Chad Gable was on the outside. He was about to rip Penta's mask off, but Vikingo grabs Gable, and they brawl out of the arena. This distracts Andrade long enough for one of the Creeds to hit a roll-up, only for a 2 count. Penta with a big super kick. Andrade with his back elbow move. And then Penta with a big destroyer for the win for Andrade and Penta. Now, I do not know if that means Penta and Andrade are going to be teaming going forward, which may not be a bad idea until we can get Rey Fenix and Penta together. But then we see the Paul Heyman family. They're coming out. They're surrounding the ring. Penta and Andrade initially gain advantage, but the numbers are way too much. Braun Breaker with a big spear. And then a body slam to Andrade. A senton from Bronson Reed. A stomp each from Seth Rollins. And then they line both Penta and Andrade up for Bronson Reed to hit the tsunami. This brings officials out to stop the Heyman family and to get Andrade and Penta out of the ring. So now we got a Heyman family promo as we get a Paul Heyman talking. As he says, "We walk through the souls of Bakersfield. We don't fear the future. We are the future. And don't know why you would boo that. Seth told you what industry is becoming. We got Roman Punk out of the way, and everything Seth tells you comes true. We are the vanguard of this industry. Boo all you want, and Money in the Bank, Seth becomes Mr. Money in the Bank, and at his pleasure, he'll cash in, and you'll all know why. To solidify power, to propel the industry into the future that is all his own." And as he's finishing up, out comes Cody Rhodes. He has a little stare down with Seth. Then Jey Uso comes out, does his entrance. Heyman family bails. So then we get a Cody Rhodes Jey Uso promo with Cody saying, "You all want to talk about Money in the Bank? The Interdome? Do you want to talk about main event Jey Uso? Or do you want to talk about our opponents for Money in the Bank, John Cena and Logan Paul?" Last week was rather aggressive from both men, with Cena calling me desperate, which I found rather bold. I saw you dancing around begging for forgiveness. Talk about desperate. throwing away 27 years of goodwill for history. It's a showdown, a yeet down. So this brings out John Cena. He gets in the ring, takes off his title belt. The ring announcer does John Cena's full heel introduction, which I always love. And I guess this distracts the babyfaces long enough for Logan Paul to slide into the ring and hit Jey Uso from behind. Cody attempts a crossroads, but that gets blocked. Cena with a belt shot into the attitude adjustment. Logan Paul with a pulverizer. And then a couple of frog splash for each man. So Cena grabs the microphone, says, "Take a good look. No one is coming to save you. I've been telling you this for half of the year. Your dream of what WWE is over. This is your future. I'm going to take the WWE title home. He's going to take the World Heavyweight title to the top. He's the moment maker, the future face of the WWE. Humble yourself before the future World Heavyweight Champion, Logan Paul." Cody Rhodes then kind of climbs back into the ring, puts his hand on John Cena's foot. Cena with an AA. Jey Uso gets back in, eats a KO punch from Logan Paul, which elicited boos from the crowd, who is chanting for R-Truth. So Cena turns this, says, "You want the truth? You can't handle R-Truth. You want our truth? Our truth is right here. And there's nothing anyone can do about it. You chant for truth, you're all liars. This is why you're losers. This is going to be my last time in Bakersfield. And the winners write the history books." The mentioning of R-Truth. Oh, that was such a good promo. For those of you who don't know, the Sunday before this, it was announced, R-Truth himself announced that he wasn't renewing his contract with WWE, so he was leaving, which upset a ton of people. We've heard "We Want Truth" chants throughout Raw, SmackDown, and a little bit of NXT too, I believe. So, we'll see if we get Truth back. That's maybe a spoiler for tomorrow. Maybe not. We'll see. So, overall, that was a much better than usual episode of SmackDown. Definitely hoping they're more like this going forward. We got storyline progression. We got some character developments. Got some fun things going in the tag division. So, hopefully SmackDown is going to be more like this moving forward. So, coming this week, tonight, we're going to be starting Monday Night Raw. It's going to be post Money in the Bank, and we're building to Night of Champions, which is going to be King and Queen of the Ring. Then Tuesday is going to be NWA Power. I believe we're going to be starting the Crockett Cup proper, which I'm ready for. And then we got another 4-hour episode of AEW with Summer Sizzle, whatever they want to call it these days. Should definitely be an interesting couple nights. Cover all that on Friday. Hopefully you stay tuned for that. Till next time, happy wrestling, everybody. Peace.